It was a flickering light of splendor, academic excellence, and perseverance. Al-Andalus for nearly 800 years. The last episode that we saw was the tragic fall of Granada in 1492, the event when the curtain had gone in to write the very last page to the Muslim Empire in Iberia. In the capitulation, Boabdil was defeated and absorbed by Ferdinand and Isabella, which indeed would be a swan song of one era, but is far from it for Al-Andalus. This once thriving civilization left a legacy that endures at the crossroads of time and space. Its influence lives in the intricate arches of the Alhambra, the poetic cadence of Spanish words with Arabic roots, and the revolutionary ideas it brought to science, art, and philosophy. But what does it symbolize in our era? How do the fables of Al-Andalus resonate in modern minds? And what is the cause for the rise, the glory, and the decline of the same? Well, let's untangle. Al-Andalus was the land of the Muslims in the Iberian Peninsula, established by Muslim forces led by Tariq ibn Ziyad after they defeated the Visigothic kingdom in 711 CE. Now, under the Umayyads, Al-Andalus really blossomed under siege, from a frontier province to a major center of governance, culture, and learning. Indeed, such developments established a golden era under leaders like Abd al-Rahman III, which brought unprecedented growth in architecture, trade, and academic endeavors since the founding of Córdoba as the capital. But this decline started with internal divisions and separate Taifa kingdoms. Christian Reconquista, fueled by infighting among the Muslim leaders, relentlessly and strongly devoured its foundations. Key setbacks like the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa in 1212 merely accelerated its fragmentation, all the way to the fall of Granada in 1492, the symbolic end of this extraordinary historical chapter. The architectural legacies of Al-Andalus are among the most permanent testament to their cultural brilliance. Masterpieces such as the Alhambra in Granada, the Mezquita of Córdoba, and the Giralda Tower in Seville symbolize a vibrant civilization. The Alhambra epitomizes the height of Nasrid's art and architecture, a majestic palace fortress. All of its stucco work was really intricate with fantastic geometric patterns. The courts here were pretty soothing. However, the Mezquita of Córdoba also merges Roman and Visigothic features with characteristic horseshoe arches as well as a lovely forest of columns. The Giralda Tower was initially a minaret, therefore the building embodies Almohad creativity and, subsequently, transformed into the cathedral's bell tower to symbolize a complex regional cultural blend. Those architectural wonders did not remain merely in Al-Andalus. The creative designs done there influenced the Gothic and Renaissance architecture of Europe. Pointed arches, ornate tile work, and intricate geometric patterns were added to European cathedrals and palaces, thus pointing out how civilizations are indeed connected. These structures have symbolic meanings beyond the aesthetic values they carry. They represent a living history from the times when different cultures and faiths were interacting with one another to enhance each other's knowledge by way of exchanges of ideas. They, in that way, depict not only the magnificence of Islamic Iberia, but also the depth of cultural amalgamation that came to be the hallmark of the identity of the region and has survived to capture the imagination of modern times. Linguistic influences by Al-Andalus forever changed the Spanish language. Thus, the culture that has been imported and exported over many centuries should forever be in mind. But apart from the fact that almost all the words that are used as a matter of every day in the modern Spanish language come from Arabic, one must concede that where there is a will, there is a way to prove how deep the effects of Islamization were on the linguistics of Iberia. But instances like Alcazar, castle, algebra, a branch of mathematics, and azuca, sugar, will all very well illustrate cases wherein an everyday word derives its etymology due to the mother tongue. In addition, Arabic scholars translated and preserved classical Greek texts. most of which would otherwise have been lost to history. The translations, usually done in cities like Córdoba, acted as bridges for European intellectual revival during the Renaissance. Works of Aristotle, Galen, and others were made accessible to the Latin-speaking world through Arabic manuscripts, which sparked a renaissance of learning and scientific discovery in Europe. It was not just a language to talk in, but the connection between the two cultures. The intermingling of Arabic, Latin, and Iberian dialects resulted in the infusion of different civilizations, thereby creating the richness of cultural expression in medieval Spain. There was a pot where ideas, knowledge, and innovations were crossing borders from one civilization to the other, a testament to the power of language in writing history. The language of Arabic left an indelible mark on Spanish, enriching it with elements that mirror intellectual and cultural dynamism. In the Golden Age, Al-Andalus became an environment for scientific and intellectual innovation that led to some of the advances that would affect the course of Europe and, in general, the world. Contributions to astronomy by such figures as Ibn al-Shatir transformed the way planetary movements were understood and predicted models even before the Copernicus heliocentric theory. Math scholars like al-Khwarizmi developed the foundation of algebra, while work done by al-Zarqali on astrolabes greatly influenced navigation practice around the world. Neither were the medical and pharmaceutical scholars bashful. Physicians like Ibn Rushd and Ibn Sin influenced the European medical practice of their times. Al-Andalus's intellectual wealth did not lie within its borders alone. The European scholars, especially during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, profited extensively from the knowledge preserved and developed by the Andalusian thinkers. Translating into Latin those original writings of Greeks and Romans, with originals by Muslim intelligentsia, created them as having availability in the West of Christ. Therefore, the transfer of knowledge manifested itself through a riot in the heads of Europeans, for example. Some science branches, astronomical, medicinal, and philosophical ones, transferring thought, which Aristotle's put forth, was the job of specific participants of this undertaking, the philosophers just like Averroes. His commentaries on the works of Aristotle have greatly influenced the work of Thomas Aquinas and other scholastic philosophers who helped join the Islamic tradition to Western thought. In this sense, therefore, the Al-Andalus has played a significant role in European intellectual history, in the sense that their works remain very much a part of modern-day thinking. Indeed, Al-Andalus was that melting pot which reflected much of the beauty and richness both in its culture and artistry. The art of music probably remains one of the most sustainable outputs of Andalusian culture itself, a source of flamenco. The Arabic Andalusian rhythms, melodies, and even instruments merged harmoniously with the Jewish and Christian traditions, combined with the new Romani presence to produce dynamic and distinctive traditions. It has really left a big dent in Spanish music to this date. Andalusian poetry also glorified coexistence, which created a motivation for poets to reflect on the diversity of the environment surrounding them. The two poets who were typical examples of such trends were Ibn Zaydun and Walada bint al-Mustakfi, who had in their respective works the features of a blended spirit of elements of Arabic, Christian, and Jewish coexistence. Art exchange was also shared among the communities of Muslims, Christians, and Jews, which influenced Andalusian art by such Islamic geometric patterns that became fused with Christian religious imagery in architectural and decorative works. This is evident in masterpieces like the Alhambra and Mezquita of Córdoba. Even Spanish food is taken over by flavors and ingredients that emerged at this time. Spices like saffron, almonds, and cinnamon are fundamental here to the cuisine. Agriculture, especially irrigation, was another area entered by this civilization and has its remnants in modern-day Spain in every possible respect. Al-Andalus has lessons for the modern world in the wonderful example of coexistence and diversity that it gave. This is the medieval Iberian Peninsula in which the contrasts among Muslims, Christians and Jews appeared glaringly obvious, yet somehow collaborated over sciences, philosophy, arts and architecture. In the Iberian Peninsula during the period when culture thrived, there is ample indication that successful societies are characterized by the collaboration of different individuals. Al-Andalus reminds one that inclusivity and mutual respect can lead to innovation and growth, an intellectual and artistic legacy. After all, the collapse of Al-Andalus also is a testament to the cost of fragmentation. For instance, political and religious disputes apart, the Muslim kingdoms were divided, which further disintegrated them against the Christian Reconquista. This is the story of Al-Andalus, an important cautionary tale on how the inability to unite eventually implodes it, losing ultimately its cultural and political power base. This makes the story even more current, as this is happening in modern countries with deepened polarization and factionalism. Al-Andalus teaches yet another lesson in the realm of cultural preservation. The tradition of science, scholarship, and arts, so assiduously nurtured after the fall of Muslim civilization in Iberia, continues to go on to shape the modern world. In this globalizing world, heritage in the form of language, art, or knowledge becomes something of a necessity in keeping identity alive, as well as working towards a mutual understanding between different cultures. The example of Al-Andalus teaches us cultural exchange and preservation. It is an integral part of serving past generations as well as inspiring future ones. The story of Al-Andalus has a lot to tell in the modern world about such issues as cultural tolerance, cooperation in countering global challenges, and the role of a mosaic society in determining the future. Its legacy is proof that unity, understanding, and shared knowledge remain an enduring source of power. Al-Andalus left a dual inheritance, an inheritance that speaks to cultural triumph and loss in dizzyingly poignant proportions. It bloomed at the top of intellectual brilliance, artistic skill, and architectural prowess, but its fall marked the denouement of an era of futility. Yet even its end suggests lessons too profound and important concerning unity, diversity, and power in knowledge. So, in reflection of that legacy, could the tale of Al-Andalus have gone otherwise? Which lessons can be drawn from this living together, then from the disputes, and finally its fragmentation? Beautiful it is not in its history only, but in that even today it's shaping our future, as well as pointing us in directions for our coming future. The story of Al-Andalus is timeless. It remains a beacon of how past civilizations inform and inspire humanity today and beyond.